Minikin, written by Stephen Cosgrove, illustrated by Robin James. Dedicated to my friend Charles Gates again. Though I may have gotten his goat, he can never pull the wool over my eyes. Stephen. In the spot where all the oceans came together was the most beautiful place you have ever seen. It was called the Island of Shy. The winds from all over the world brushed gently over this island, kissing the trees and lush grasses, whispering a tender song of love and caring. Gentle rains fell in the spring, feeding the rich, loamy soil of the meadows of the Island of Shy, where all the creatures lived and died. On the gentle slopes of the island, in secret small meadows where the grazing grasses and meadow flowers grew in great profusion, the woolly sheep of Shy lived and played their lives away. Birds swooped in the soft breezes that cooled the gentle creatures as they munched their morning meal. And every day they ate with a zeal that set their tails to swishing in anticipation of tasty delights. Every year, just as winter's winds blew themselves away, replaced by the warmth of spring, the sheep began the birthing of the lambs of the land. With their eyes just barely open to the world around them, and their black noses glistening in the morning's light, the lambs would take the first staggering steps of life yet to come. With soft, gentle bleats, mother sheep, called ewes, would call to them and they would stiffly bound back, their short fluffy tails twitching in joy at all that they saw. It was late in this time of lambing that the last, small lamb of the herd was born. He was called Minikin, and he blinked with big brown eyes at all there was to see. He bounded from flower to flower smelling their heady pollens. Minikin sniffed and he sniffed until, with a loud caw-chew, he sneezed a sneeze bigger than he was and fell with a thump, down on his rump. Because he was born in the latter part of spring, Minikin was smaller than the lambs that had been born before. The unfortunate custom was that the older lambs would laugh and call him names like Half-Pint or Pee-wee. Minikin didn't like it one little bit. It wasn't his fault that he was so small and so, with a tight pout of his lips, he would usually end up playing all alone. One day, when all the laughing lambs had laughed a little louder than before, Minikin raced back to his mother, tears in his eyes. "Mom," he bleated plaintively, "I don't want to be itty-bitty anymore. When am I going to be big?" His mother stopped her gentle grazing and smiled that special smile that mothers seem to have. "Minikin, you will be bigger in time. There is nothing you can do now. But soon you'll grow and be just as big as your brothers." Minikin didn't want to wait. He pouted and pondered until he came up with a marvelous plan. He searched about the meadow until he found a twisted, gnarled limb on the tree. Carefully he hooked his back legs over the branch. Then he pulled and pulled, trying to make himself bigger. But no matter how he tried, the best he could do was to wedge himself tight as tight could be. The other lambs laughed and laughed as they helped poor Minikin disengage himself from the tree. "What's the matter, Shrimp?" they giggled in glee. "If he weren't such a runt he would have been able to step over the branch instead of trying to go through it." They popped him loose and, still chuckling, trotted off, leaving Minikin in a heap of wool and tears at the base of the tree. Minikin wasn't one to give up, so he searched about for another answer. One day, as he was walking near the creek munching the small tender shoots that grew there, he noticed that the mud stuck to the bottom of his tiny hooves. He thought, "A little mud makes me feel taller. Maybe a lot of mud will make me just as big as the other lambs." The rest of the morning he walked around and around in the sticky mud until he was standing nearly a foot taller than before. Satisfied that he had finally solved the problem, he hobbled out to the meadow where all his friends could see that he was just as big as they were. The other lambs were more than a little amazed as a tall and proud Minikin strode about the meadow. Who knows, this might have been the answer, but the morning mist was still heavy on the grasses of the meadow. Slowly the mud on one foot, then another, began to dissolve, until he was leaning at an impossible angle. Each step became a little harder until finally he fell into a small muddy heap. His mother came to his rescue and licked his wool clean and glistening. "Be patient, my little lamb," she cooed. "Eat and drink. With time you'll grow just as big as everyone else." As his mother ambled away, a light began to shine in Minikin's eye. "That's it. I have been wasting all my time thinking when it's eating that makes you grow bigger." With a twitch of his tail he bounded into the rich meadow. Minikin ate and he ate all that there was to eat. He ate the clover blossoms and stems and flowers and leaves. He grazed on the grasses. He even tried to bite the bark of the trees, but that didn't taste so good. Minikin munched on all that there was to eat, his appetite stimulated by his desire to grow. But instead of growing faster, all that Minikin succeeded in doing was getting fatter. Month after month he got chubbier and chubbier. Pretty soon he ate himself sick. That poor, pathetic, plump sheep could eat no more. Even the thought of lush clover made him more than a little ill. Poor little Minikin spent months and months exercising all that plump away. He ran and played, discovering as he did so that when you're busy you don't have time to fret. So it came to pass that Minikin learned to be just what he was meant to be. A small lamb who with nature's help and a little time grew to be bigger, but never the biggest, on the Island of Shy. If you're small and not so tall, there's no need to throw a fit. Remember a lamb called Minikin, who grew in time, a little bit.